When a man truly cares about you, something inside him begins to shift, quietly but powerfully. It's not always dramatic. He doesn't announce it with grand gestures or loud declarations. Instead, the transformation shows up in the subtle, consistent ways he begins to better himself. Not just for you, but because of you. Your presence becomes a mirror, reflecting both his strengths and the areas where he wants to grow. You inspire him without even trying. And because he values your presence, he naturally begins to rise into the kind of man he believes is worthy of standing beside you. This kind of change doesn't come from pressure. It doesn't come from demands or ultimatums. It comes from something far deeper, a quiet admiration, a deep emotional pull, a desire to build something real. He may not say it out loud, but his actions reveal the truth. He starts showing up differently. He watches his words. He manages his anger. He starts being more intentional, more grounded, and more aware of how his choices impact not just his life, but yours too. You'll begin to notice that the man he was when you first met isn't quite the same as the man he's becoming. He listens more. He respects more. He begins to prioritize his time, cut off negative influences, and focus on things that truly matter. He may start dressing better, speaking softer, loving louder, not out of pretense but out of presence. Your love, your energy, your spirit. It doesn't just touch him, it elevates him. And that's what makes it so powerful. Because when a man truly begins to love a woman in the right way, it doesn't just change how he treats her, it changes how he treats himself. It's not about perfection, it's about evolution, and the signs are always there, in the way he grows, the habits he leaves behind, and the quiet effort he puts in to become a better man, simply because you're in his life. 1. He watches his words more carefully. When a man genuinely wants to be a better version of himself around you, one of the first signs you'll notice is that he watches his words more carefully. This doesn't just mean he avoids being rude, it means he becomes more intentional with the way he speaks. His tone softens, his choice of words becomes more thoughtful, and he pays close attention to how his words might affect you emotionally. He begins to speak less impulsively and more mindfully, making sure that what he says reflects respect, care, and clarity. He avoids sarcasm that could be misunderstood. He doesn't raise his voice when upset. Instead, he chooses to express himself in ways that encourage understanding rather than conflict. He becomes aware that words can hurt, heal, or linger far longer than intended, so he picks them wisely. This shift is not about being perfect or overly cautious, but about being emotionally responsible. Even in casual conversations, he tries to uplift you or bring value through his words. He avoids dismissive phrases or cold responses because he doesn't want to make you feel ignored or small. His speech reflects his inner effort, not to impress you, but to honor you. He speaks in a way that makes you feel seen, safe, and understood. His communication becomes less about proving a point and more about building a connection. Watching his words isn't a performance, it's growth. It shows he's evolving, becoming more self-aware, and understanding the power of language in a relationship. And when a man begins to guard his words with care around you, it's a quiet yet powerful sign that he's trying to rise into the kind of man who deserves your presence. 2. He controls his temper when you're around. When a man truly values you and wants to become better in your presence, one of the clearest signs is that he learns to control his temper around you. Even if he's someone who's naturally quick to anger or easily frustrated, your presence changes something in him. He begins to hold back the urge to lash out, not because he's hiding his emotions, but because he doesn't want to hurt you or create tension between you two. He becomes more patient, especially during disagreements or stressful moments. Instead of raising his voice, walking away, or letting emotions explode, he pauses, sometimes biting his tongue, taking a deep breath, or silently processing before responding. This self-restraint isn't weakness, it's a form of strength. It's proof that he's aware of how powerful his energy and reactions can be, and he chooses to protect your peace over feeding his pride. You'll notice that even when others test his patience, he holds back, especially if you're watching. Not because he's pretending, but because being around you reminds him of who he wants to be. Calm, collected, and in control. Over time, it becomes a habit, not just something he does for you, but something he's learning to do for himself. Controlling his temper doesn't mean he's emotionless. It means he's learning emotional maturity. It shows he respects your space, your energy, and your heart enough not to bring chaos into it. When a man starts choosing peace over power, silence over shouting, and understanding over outbursts, especially in your presence, it's a clear sign that he's trying to rise into the man he believes you deserve. 3. He dresses better when he knows he'll see you. When a man starts dressing better every time he knows he'll see you, it's not just about fashion, it's about intention. It means he's thinking of you before you even arrive. He's putting effort into his appearance because your presence matters to him. He wants to feel confident, yes, but more than that, he wants you to see him at his best, and that says a lot. Even if he's not naturally into clothes or trends, he begins to notice the details, wearing cleaner shoes, ironing his shirt, fixing his hair, maybe even switching cologne. These small upgrades may seem subtle, but they're loud in meaning. He may not say it out loud, but his actions whisper, "You're worth the effort." He understands that how he presents himself around you is a form of silent respect. It's not about showing off or pretending to be someone he's not. It's about honoring your time, your eyes, and your presence. And deep down, it's also about how you make him feel. Motivated, inspired, and eager to impress, not for validation, but for connection. When a man starts caring about how he looks when he's around you, he's showing that your opinion matters. He's showing that he's paying attention. And most of all, he's showing that being in your presence brings out a version of him that even he is proud of. That kind of quiet transformation speaks volumes without needing a single word. 4. He avoids bad habits he used to indulge in. When a man starts avoiding bad habits he once indulged in, especially when you're in his life, it's a powerful sign that he's growing. Not because you asked him to, but because you make him want to. These might be habits he's had for years, staying out too late, smoking, reckless spending, unhealthy eating, or even toxic friendships. But suddenly, with you around, those things don't feel as satisfying anymore. He begins to re-evaluate what he used to consider normal. He starts noticing which habits might hurt his future, or push you away. And instead of making excuses, he starts making changes. Quietly, steadily. Maybe he cuts back on drinking. Maybe he stops talking to people who bring out his worst side. Maybe he starts being more disciplined, more accountable. Not because he's trying to be perfect, but because he knows you see him clearly, and he wants that reflection to be something he can be proud of. This shift isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as choosing to stay home and talk to you instead of wasting hours online, or choosing honesty over the comfortable lies he used to tell himself. These are not just surface-level changes. They're internal decisions that say, "I want to rise above who I was yesterday." When a man drops habits he once clung to, not from pressure, but from personal choice, it shows that you've awakened something in him, a desire to become better, healthier, stronger, not just for love, but for legacy. And that transformation often begins with the things he's quietly willing to leave behind. 5. He starts setting goals for his future. When a man starts setting goals for his future after meeting you, it means something inside him has shifted. You've stirred a vision in him, a reason to think ahead, plan better, and aim higher. Before, he may have been floating through life without urgency, just surviving day to day. But with you in the picture, he begins to think in terms of years, not just moments. He starts thinking about where he wants to be, not just as a man, but as a partner, a provider, a person of value. He might not say it directly, but his actions start showing it. He talks about career plans, savings, better health, travel, growth. He takes steps towards stability, not out of pressure, but because he sees a future worth building, and he wants you in it. You become part of his motivation, the spark that pushes him to want more from life. Suddenly, goals that once felt optional become essential. He begins to take ownership of his path. He becomes more intentional, more focused, and more disciplined. This change doesn't mean he's trying to impress you with success. It means you've reminded him of his potential. You've given him something to work for, not out of fear of losing you, but from the excitement of having something real. When a man starts building toward the future with clarity and purpose, especially after meeting you, it's a silent but powerful sign that love has awakened his ambition. And he's not just dreaming now, he's moving. 6. He becomes more thoughtful with his actions. When a man becomes more thoughtful with his actions around you, it means he's no longer moving through life on autopilot, especially not when it comes to you. He starts paying attention to the little things, the things that matter, the things that make a difference. He begins to act with intention, not just reaction. You'll notice it in the way he speaks, the way he listens, the way he shows up even when it's inconvenient. He remembers what you said in passing. He considers your feelings before making decisions. He thinks twice before doing anything that might hurt, disappoint, or confuse you. And if he does make a mistake, he doesn't brush it off. He takes responsibility and tries to make it right. This thoughtfulness shows in gestures both big and small. How he creates space for your comfort. How he adjusts his behavior out of respect. How he does something just because it might make you smile. He's not trying to earn points. He's learning how to be present, how to give, how to love with care. It's not about perfection. It's about effort. When a man starts becoming more thoughtful, it means he's no longer acting just for himself. He's growing. He's softening. He's aligning his behavior with his feelings. And in doing so, he's showing you, silently but clearly, that you matter deeply. 7. He shows more respect to others, especially women. When a man starts showing more respect to others, especially women, after connecting with you, it's a sign that your presence is elevating his perspective. He begins to reflect on how he treats people, not just privately, but publicly too. He becomes more conscious of his tone, his words, and the weight his actions carry. He listens without interrupting. He stops making offhand jokes that once seemed harmless, but were rooted in disrespect. He treats strangers, co-workers, service workers, and even women from his past with a level of dignity he may not have shown before. This change doesn't happen because he's trying to impress you. It happens because you've reminded him of what real value and kindness look like. Being around you makes him realize that respect isn't just about holding the door open or being polite. It's about recognizing the worth of every human being, especially the ones society often undervalues. And more importantly, he starts seeing how deeply his words and behavior influence others, including you. You become the mirror through which he re-examines himself. Not because you told him to, but because love often exposes what pride tries to hide. And when a man begins to treat others better simply because loving you taught him how to see clearer, that's not just growth, that's transformation. 8. He listens more and talks less. When a man starts listening more and talking less around you, it's not about silence, it's about presence. It means he's tuned in. He's not just hearing your words, he's absorbing them. He's paying attention not to reply quickly, but to understand deeply. And that shift speaks volumes. You'll feel it in his stillness when you speak. How his eyes don't wander. How his body turns toward you. How he's not distracted by his phone or his own thoughts. He stops dominating the conversation or trying to steer it back to himself. Instead, he gives you space to express yourself fully because what you say matters to him. This kind of listening isn't passive. It's active. It's respectful. It's intentional. He asks thoughtful questions. He remembers details. He circles back to things you mentioned days ago, not to flatter you, but because he genuinely cares. In doing so, he shows that your voice has a place in his world, not as background noise, but as something worth prioritizing. When a man talks less and listens more, it's often because he's learning about you, about himself, about the kind of connection that doesn't rely on noise, but on understanding. It's a quiet kind of love, one that doesn't shout, but listens, feels, and grows. 9. He picks up new skills or tries to improve himself. When a man starts picking up new skills or actively tries to improve himself after meeting you, it's a strong sign that you've awakened something deeper in him. A desire to grow, to evolve, to rise, not for show, not to impress, but because your presence makes him reflect on the man he could be, not just the man he's always been. He might start reading more, learning something new, working on his fitness, or taking better care of his mental health. He could pick up cooking, budgeting, public speaking, or finally pursue something he's always put off. And the reason behind it? He wants to be someone who adds value to your life, not through material things, but through maturity, effort, and personal growth. These changes are often quiet. You won't hear him bragging about them. You'll just notice that he's more consistent, more curious, more driven. He's no longer content with comfort zones. He starts leveling up, bit by bit, day by day. And somewhere in that journey is the unspoken truth. You inspire him. When a man begins to invest in himself, it's a reflection of how much he values your presence. Because deep down, he doesn't just want to keep your attention. He wants to deserve it every single day. 10. He apologizes sincerely when he's wrong. When a man sincerely apologizes when he's wrong, it shows emotional maturity and deep respect for the relationship. It means he's not trying to win an argument or protect his pride. He's trying to protect you, the connection, and the trust between you. He's not afraid to admit when he's made a mistake, because he values being accountable more than being right. You'll notice he doesn't offer cold or vague apologies. He doesn't say, "I'm sorry you feel that way." Instead, he says, "I was wrong," or "I hurt you, and I regret it." His tone isn't defensive, it's honest. He reflects before speaking. He owns his behavior, and more importantly, he shows through actions that he's learning from it. This kind of apology isn't just about fixing a moment. It's about building long-term safety in the relationship. It reassures you that he's not too proud to grow or too stubborn to see your side. When a man can look you in the eye and take responsibility, not just once, but consistently, it's proof that he's not here to play games. He's here to become a better man, one apology at a time. 11. He works harder and stays more focused. When a man begins to work harder and stay more focused after you enter his life, it's because something inside him has shifted. His priorities, his purpose, his vision. Your presence gives him clarity. He stops wasting time on distractions and starts thinking long-term. He becomes more driven, more consistent, more determined to build something solid, not just for himself, but for both of you. You may notice he's up earlier, staying later, or putting in extra effort on things he once did casually. He's not just chasing success for success's sake. He's creating stability, security, and direction. He sets deadlines. He makes plans. He becomes intentional with his time because now it matters more. You've helped him see what's worth fighting for. His focus sharpens because you inspire him to live with more purpose. He no longer tolerates mediocrity, not in his work, not in his habits, and not in his mindset. It's not about showing off or proving something. It's about becoming the man who's not only capable of love, but also capable of leadership, growth, and consistency. When a man starts showing up for his life differently, more focused, more driven, more grounded, it means you've lit a spark. And that spark is changing him from the inside out. 12. He avoids shady people or negative influences. When a man begins to avoid shady people or step away from negative influences after meeting you, it's a quiet but powerful act of transformation. It means he's reevaluating who he surrounds himself with. Not because you told him to, but because he now sees what kind of energy he wants to protect, especially when it comes to you and the future he imagines. He starts recognizing which friendships are built on old habits, immaturity, or chaos. He becomes more aware of how certain people bring out his worst instincts or keep him stuck in cycles he no longer wants to repeat. And instead of making excuses or staying loyal to dysfunction, he quietly creates distance, not out of judgment, but out of growth. You'll notice he spends less time with people who gossip, disrespect women, lack ambition, or constantly drag him into drama. He might not say much about it, but his circle starts getting smaller and more intentional. He chooses environments that match his new mindset, one shaped by honesty, peace, and purpose. This shift doesn't happen overnight, and it's not always easy. But when a man starts cutting ties with the people and habits that threaten his progress, it means he's serious about himself, about healing, about you. Because real love doesn't just change how a man treats you, it changes what he tolerates in his world. 13. He opens up emotionally, even when it's hard. When a man starts opening up emotionally, even when it's hard, it means he's letting his guard down because he feels safe with you. It's not easy for most men to be vulnerable. Many are taught to stay silent, to hide pain, to toughen up instead of speak up. So when he begins to share what's on his heart, his fears, regrets, hopes, or insecurities, it's not just a conversation, it's a reveal. He starts letting you into the spaces he's kept hidden from the world. Maybe he talks about things he's never admitted out loud. Childhood wounds, failures that haunt him, dreams he's too afraid to chase. He may stumble over his words or pause before finishing a thought, but he still tries. Because you're not just someone he loves, you're someone he trusts. This emotional openness is proof that you've become a safe place for him. He doesn't just want to share the good parts, he wants to be fully seen. Even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs pride. He's no longer pretending to be perfect. He's choosing honesty over ego, connection over control. When a man lets you see the parts he once hid, it's not weakness. It's the beginning of something real. Because love isn't about guarding every wall. It's about letting someone in, even when the door's heavy. And when he opens that door for you, piece by piece, it means you matter more than his fear. 14. He protects your image, even when you're not around. When a man protects your image, even when you're not around, it means his respect for you runs deeper than convenience or performance. He doesn't just show love when you're beside him. He honors you in rooms where your name is mentioned, even if you'll never hear about it. That's integrity. That's loyalty in its purest form. He doesn't let others speak carelessly about you. If someone throws shade, makes a joke at your expense, or questions your character, he doesn't laugh along or stay silent. He speaks up. He redirects the conversation. He sets a boundary without hesitation. Because in his mind, disrespecting you, even subtly, is the same as disrespecting him. He also watches how he talks about you when you're not there. He doesn't overshare your private struggles. He doesn't make you the punchline of a story to entertain friends. He speaks of you with admiration, with grace, with pride. And when others hear him talk about you, they understand one thing clearly. He's serious about you. This kind of protection isn't loud or showy. It's quiet, consistent, and deeply rooted in love. When a man defends your name like he'd defend his own, it means he values your dignity, not just in public, but in principle. It means your worth is safe with him, even when you're not looking. 15. He becomes more spiritual or introspective. When a man becomes more spiritual or introspective after being around you, it means you've awakened something in him that reaches far beyond romance. He begins to look inward, not because he's lost, but because he's finally ready to explore who he truly is. Your presence makes him reflect, question, and seek clarity, not just about the relationship, but about his life, his past, his choices, and his purpose. He starts thinking more deeply about what matters. He may not have been someone who prayed, meditated, journaled, or sat in silence before, but now he makes time for it. He's not trying to impress you by pretending to be spiritual. He's simply becoming more open to the quiet moments that shape a man from the inside out. He asks bigger questions, seeks understanding, and becomes more aware of the energy he brings into the world. This inward shift affects how he treats people, how he handles conflict, and how he carries himself. He becomes more grounded, more compassionate, less reactive. He learns to pause before speaking, to feel before judging, to grow before blaming. And whether he finds that growth through faith, reflection, or inner healing, it's clear he's evolving. When a man turns inward and begins that personal journey, inspired by your presence, it shows he doesn't just want love. He wants to be worthy of it. He's not just chasing happiness. He's seeking depth, meaning, and alignment. And that kind of change doesn't fade. It transforms him for life.